You're listening to the Personal Mastery Podcast with Ari Baga. Interviewing CEOs and executives who are performing at the highest level in their industry. Those who are living and working purposefully towards a vision in alignment with their values and in a state of constant learning about the self. Welcome to another episode of the Personal Mastery Podcast. And in today's episode, we have my good friend, Ben Jabbawy. Ben is the founder and CEO of Privy.com, the leader in e-commerce marketing for small businesses and entrepreneurs. Privy is used by over 400,000 stores in over 180 countries and has generated over $4 billion in sales for those e-commerce stores. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about email marketing, how to start building your list. And then we're going to dive into text marketing and how he's helping brands reach their customers through text. And we're going to also dive into some personal stuff, how he's able to perform at such a high level and how he's been able to grow Privy from $1,000 in a bank account to over $8 million a year in recurring revenue. We have a great episode for you today. I'm excited for you to check it out. So without further ado, here's Ben. Ben, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ari. Pumped to be with you.
Awesome. So where are you calling from today?
We're based out of Boston.
Boston. Yeah. Is that where you grew up, or
I did. I did. Yeah. I grew up just outside the city here. Went off, spent some time in New York, but I'm back.
Yeah. Have you ever moved anywhere else, or have you lived in that same area?
I went to school in New York. So I spent, 4 years there, but, my family's here, my wife's family's here. So, with kids and stuff, it's nice to be back.
Yeah. So what did you go to school for? Or did you even go to college, or?
I did.
Okay.
I went to school to study engineering. So not computer science, but like a little bit of computer science. It was called industrial engineering. So it was just like a lot of math, and like manufacturing, supply chain stuff. Nothing really related to what I do today, but it was cool. I enjoyed it. Barely graduated.
Yeah, like most of us, right? I actually went to college. The second time that I went to college, I'm a 2-time proclaimed dropout here.
There you go.
So the second time I went for computer science, and I was trying to actually learn web development. And I realized quickly that it had nothing to do with building, like coding websites. And it was actually really hard.
Yeah. I mean, I actually think that's one of the problems with the way that computer science is taught. Like, I am obviously in the software world now, but like my 2 years of computer science undergrad, like didn't talk at all about that. It was all theory and nothing like in practice. And I think that was a big reason for why I lost interest in the time. So it's also just really freaking hard. Yeah. So it gives you another level of appreciation, but I totally hear you on that.
Yeah. So when you got into like the development space, and I think you started a company before you started Privy, right?
Yeah, I was, so I just like, both my parents were entrepreneurs and I just gravitated towards ideas, and helping people. And, I didn't really have an amazing GPA, so I wasn't like getting recruited out of school or getting any of the jobs I was applying for. So like the one course I took that I actually did love was entrepreneurship. And so I was just kind of reaching out to different people that had been successful starting businesses. There was a guy, Aaron, that was willing to take a chance on me. He was like a friend of a friend. And so, I joined up with him. He was going to be starting his next business, which was in the water space, had nothing to do with e-commerce or software. But I was lucky to be along. I was his right-hand man, and helped him start a company called Oasis Water, and learned a ton. I mean, we we raised $10 million. We recruited people. I was like building furniture. I was setting up payroll, filing patents. Like I was doing literally everything. And on the side was dabbling with some more like web-based ideas that I had, with a couple of friends from work, one of which really took off and kind of gave me the confidence to say, okay, like everything I've learned about starting companies here, maybe I should go like pursue some ideas that I have.
So actually going back to the course that you take, which was your favorite class, the entrepreneurship class, right? Compared to like actual entrepreneurship, do you think like, was it like right about some of the things that you learned? Did you actually like apply some of the things that you learned from the course, or was entrepreneurship actually different from the course?
It's funny now. I actually don't remember a thing I learned in that class or in college in general, which says a lot about undergrad. But that's a good question. Like I always just learn by doing. That's
Yeah.
what I do. I do read a lot. There's like people online that I follow religiously that talk about SaaS and building companies that I've learned a lot from. There's mentors around me in real life that I've learned a lot from, and you can just read books and stuff. But for me, like some of that stuff sinks in, but most of it has come from, either doing it myself at Privy and hopefully that going well, or, typically learn best when it doesn't go well too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Everything that I've learned so far has been me reading books from like other people who have like also done it, but there's nothing like actually doing it, because I think that's where you get the most learnings. And I think a lot of it is also like personal, working on yourself, and then it reflects into like the business too. So I'm like almost never reading like actual like business tactic books. It's like books that help you improve yourself, which then improves your business.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my wife, is big into yoga and meditation, and that's got me into, at least trying a little bit of that stuff. But also like, working out, I find like routines, you got to be happy in your own life if you're trying to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And for me, not for everyone, but for me, so much of that is about how I feel.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I've been like so much happier with like having a routine, actually having like a decent life, not like working all the time, like no time for family, no time for anybody, just like going at it.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, I don't know any successful entrepreneur that doesn't take time, that doesn't like spend time with their family. I mean, there are, right? Hustle culture. Like there is that.
Yeah.
That's not at all who I am or what I represent. And even as we build out Privy, like we do care and put programs in place to kind of incentivize you to take time and build a real life, as opposed to like just committing 100% to what you do.
Yeah. So how did Oasis, right? That was the initial company. How did that lead into you getting into like the e-commerce space, or even like starting Privy?
Yeah. So like the real thing that I did on the side there was called G Push. It was just an iPhone app. This
Yeah.
is like back in 2009, maybe 2010, like early iPhone store, app store. And it was a total Band-Aid app that like a friend of mine and I had a problem we wanted to solve. We did it. We got a ton of distribution through the app store there. And it kind of helped me understand, oh man, like there's some new distribution channels. And also like coming from Oasis, where it was really hard and long to get customers, and then doing G Push, where you just like build something, you put it out there, and people grab it, like that was really amazing to me. So just, marrying that experience and the confidence I got from that project. I mean, we totally screwed up a lot of things, but still like overall, I think we got like 100,000 downloads of the app pretty quickly. Wow. That just kind of gave me the confidence to like get back to my roots, which, for me, like both my parents ran their own small businesses. Because I was even remotely technical, they were like, help me with Facebook ads. What's email? Build me my website. That's actually sometimes what my mom sounds like. She'd kill me if she heard that. But I just used to do that stuff, build their sites for them, um, and do it, and saw that like there was this wave coming where rather than paying agencies in that time frame, you know, thousands to like build a WordPress site, right? I know
Mhm.
that happens, and there's still tremendous value there, but I did see the interest from both my parents who were small business owners and like editing the site themselves, doing some digital marketing themselves, right? And so that was a theme that I understood. I saw the pain points, and felt like, okay, wow, with a big shift and wave of like self-serve technology coming to
Mhm.
small business, specifically focused around marketing, I felt like there was an opportunity to do something cool there. I didn't really know what the idea was going to be at the time,
Mhm.
but I just felt like, okay, that's a theme that like I know the pain myself, having done this. It's something I'm super excited about, and I think we're like on the forefront of like a major uptick. And that was, you know, 8 years ago.
Yeah. That was like right after like when the recession started, or like in the middle of it, right? 2009.
Yeah, it was actually like just after when I left to
Yeah.
start Privy. So yeah, you know, that didn't even cross my mind at the time.
Yeah.
I think we had like just come out of it when I was really getting started, but there were like Groupon was huge, right? You saw small businesses adopting that. At the time, I didn't even know about Shopify, but I was seeing like Wix and Weebly and Mailchimp and Constant Contact. Believe it or not, at the time, like those were names
Mhm.
that were really like becoming household names.
Yeah. So when you did start Privy, were you guys serving just Shopify, or it was just like, hey, we're gonna help small businesses just like do marketing automation?
I didn't even know what e-commerce was when I started Privy, which I know sounds crazy. um, and I had never purchased anything online,
Yeah.
right? So we actually started Privy focused on brick and mortar
Wow.
businesses entirely. The whole idea was, okay, like it seems like there's this challenge where if you run a store, like a real store, you're spending money on Facebook ads, or you know you've got traffic coming to the site from Yelp or whatever,
Mhm.
and how do you essentially just take the coupons you used to put in the paper and design them, control them, put them on your site, capture an email in exchange for that coupon, and then
Yeah.
track how many of your site visitors came into your store, right? As a way
Yeah.
to just like drive confidence in the value of digital marketing for brick and mortar. And that was the idea. I spent the first 3 years or so of Privy just focused on brick and mortar. And it was like, it was all right. Like it was,
Yeah.
I think at our peak, we had like 100,000 in revenue. We had closed like some big brands that had a lot of stores. We used to call them multi-units. And I was like, okay, like, let's do this. You know, this is really happening. But it turns out like, um, at the time, the marriage of like online and offline was an amazingly powerful concept, but just really hard to execute on
Yeah.
for small businesses because like they're busy, you know, their staff didn't show up to work. They've got people just walking in, and they weren't really focused entirely on digital marketing. So um, we almost went out of business, you know, and then like, you know, just kind of forced us to really focus in on the handful of customers that were just like religious about the product.
Mhm.
And it turned out like two or three of them were actually selling online e-commerce. And they're like, forget about everything you've told us. Like, we've never grown our email list this quickly. And I've never been able to like run marketing campaigns without paying our big fancy agency.
Mhm.
And so like those were the two concepts that really stood out. And I was like, okay, what's this e-commerce thing? You know, like, doesn't everyone just buy stuff on Amazon? Like, isn't that the thing? But no, like, they were on Shopify, they were on BigCommerce, and I realized like, wow, okay, these are the people that understand at the time when they send a newsletter through Mailchimp or an abandoned cart email, they make money, right? So they thought to themselves, if they could be sending more of those, or the
Yeah.
list was bigger, they'd be growing their sales faster. Yet MailChimp and everyone else they were using at the time just had like no growth tools. And
Mhm.
so that was like the aha moment. We were like, let's go all in. Let's focus entirely on list growth at the time. I think our headline on our site in 2015 was like simple tools to grow your email list.
Yeah.
And that concept alone was like what really put us on the map. And then I think it was 2016 when we found Shopify,
Wow.
believe it or not.
So right when you guys decided to pivot and find out that, I guess, like product market fit, did you like have a conversation with your customers, or like did those customers come out to you? Like, were you looking to see, okay, who's actually finding value in the product?
Yeah, I mean, we were like, we had a failed acquisition. We were
Mm.
going to get bought out because I saw the writing on the wall. If we just kept going with brick and mortar, it wasn't going to work. Um, and so that deal fell apart like last minute. We had $1,000 in the account, and I had to let, we were only a handful of people, but had to let half of them go,
Yeah.
which sucked. And so I was kind of like, okay, well, either I need to go figure out how to get a job. And I felt like I was kind of not an exciting hire, like who's going to hire this guy that just like started and failed. Um, or, I could really like just be honest with myself that I didn't give it my all yet. And,
Mm.
that I thought there was a little bit of gas left in the tank, even if I didn't get it fully right. And so, thankfully I had customers that were seeing a lot of value and decided, okay, like, let me understand if there's something real here. Because I needed to convince myself to continue to work on something related to Privy. And I also needed to convince, the two developers that stuck around, to stay and work with me. And, that gave us, those conversations really gave us all the confidence we needed.
Mm. So from 2015 to now, what is Privy?
Oh my God. Yeah. We, I'm reading a really good book right now, the new CEO of Microsoft, Nadella.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Refresh. Highly recommend it. So that was like our first pivot. I think over the years we've evolved as well. But from 2016 through 2018, we were just like email capture for e-commerce. And, we thought, okay, if we have a free plan and the best of breed, just like tools to grow your email list, we should be able to add tremendous value to any e-commerce store. And that's really what happened. We grew really quickly. That took us from, 0 to 4 million in annual revenue, just that product alone. And what happened along the way was like the landscape changed, kind of like the vendor ecosystem changed. And, people started getting increasingly frustrated with MailChimp. Shopify and MailChimp had a big breakup.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are, this little company Privy, offering live chat support to free users. I was like getting up weekly and just like doing trainings for all of our customers online on how to convert more site traffic. And a lot of stuff really came from that was incredible and catapulted us. Like a lot of those customers were just like, hey, it's easy to use Privy. You guys offer the support that we need. Like, how come we can't do more inside of Privy, right? Like, why is it just the email capture? Why do I need some of these other tools? And so that kind of got me on the like the vision of like, oh man, like this could actually be much bigger than I first imagined, and especially for small brands like founders, entrepreneurs, marketing teams of one, we just kept hearing like they didn't understand why they needed 20 apps on their store.
Yeah.
And so email was kind of the first big use case that we expanded to. But we did that with a really like small business lens, like easy to use, quick time to value, the basics and nothing more. And so we launched Privy Email in 20 like Q4 2018. And we've kind of expanded from there. We now have text for small e-commerce brands. Depending on when this podcast launches, we have another product that's launching all around this theme of like, hey, if you're just getting started, Privy wants to provide everything you need to get from 0 to 1 million in sales online, aside from your e-commerce store.
Yeah, I remember when I started my first Shopify store in 2016, and Privy was like probably one of the first apps that I actually installed.
Nice.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
You're
So
not alone.
yeah. Like I'll tell you, like every single store that's starting, there's always like the Privy app installed. And there's always like, I can recognize any Privy pop-up because like when you sign up for Privy, you guys push the marketer to turn on the campaign. So there's always like that simple email capture that's always turned on. Like most like founders wouldn't even they wouldn't pay for like the pro version, so it still had like the Privy logo on there. Like I saw those so many times.
That's so funny. I know.
Yeah,
It's amazing. But yeah, we really just wanted to focus on, we've changed some of that, by the way, but
yeah,
on just like, hey, if you don't know what you're doing and you're just trying to grow your email list, like let's just make it easy and quick for you to do that. And we found, like that's not exactly what big, multinational brands want. And that's fine. Like they can customize as they need, but for the entrepreneur, like they just want to get live quickly and see value quickly. And we talk a lot about like time zero of these brands where they're like just getting started. There's a ton of noise. They don't know what to do. And somebody told them to download Privy, right? That might have been Shopify or it might've been you, Ari, like whatever it is. So we just want to make it easy to get those like really common handful of use cases live. And, as they grow, we hope they can do more with us, or we're integrated with everyone just in case they just want to use us for our bread and butter.
Yeah. And I remember like for that store that I was working on with a friend, like within like a few months, like we were driving a lot of traffic to that store. Within a few months, I think we were around like 400 or 500,000 email subscribers. And it was kind of like addicting to like send emails because like every single time you send an email, you just see money come in. So it's crazy how it works. Like if you build up the audience, every single time you send an email, you're going to see the money come in.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think there's this great quote from one of our customers, the Daily High Club, check it out. And, it's like CBD related products. So they can't actually like do traditional advertising and stuff. And so, he started with us and he was like, holy crap, like the biggest mistake he had ever made was not collecting emails sooner. So yeah, that's kind of the story of how we started. But now we kind of internally think of ourselves as like an e-commerce marketing solution, where we'll provide for small businesses, like really 80% of what they need in terms of marketing automation on top of their site or communicating with customers after the fact.
Now you've seen like thousands of accounts, right? Yeah. I'm assuming you've collected tons of emails. Is there like a secret sauce at collecting emails? Because I know like everybody's always talking about the wheel or like just having like your opt-in on the homepage or whatever it is. Is there like a secret sauce that you've seen?
Yeah. So we see over 1 billion sessions a month across our stores now. We've helped collect over 500 million emails. We do have like a cross client data set that we can lean on. I think, believe it or not, the biggest, like the factor that carries the most weight on sign up rate is the message of what you're showing the visitor, right? So, I'll give you 3 examples that are the most common. Hey, join our email list and we'll send you a once a month newsletter, right? We call that just like a sign up. Or an offer would be like, join our email list and we'll give you a code for free shipping on your first order, right? Or, join our email list and you'll be entered to win a once a month giveaway, right? So what we find is that this concept carries the biggest impact on conversion, and just like a sign up campaign without a coupon will convert 1% of traffic. The offer, whether it's a code for free shipping or, free product with purchase or a coupon code, whatever that may be, will convert around 5%, and an enter to win will convert at 10% or higher. Right. And that's regardless of format, whether it's a pop-up, a fly out, a bar, or a spin wheel, like whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Like it's the offer, it's the content that carries the biggest impact on conversion. So I think a lot of people overcomplicate that. And, my advice is you don't need to do a coupon or an offer, but start somewhere, start building your list with just a sign up campaign that looks good. And if you are like really feeling good about your automated emails and your email program, and you want to dial up the size of the list, like at least you now have some benchmarks and like a framework for how to grow faster.
Yeah, that's kind of like how I look at it too. Every single time, like you need to provide some sort of incentive to get someone to give you their contact information. That's just how it is. And we do have like brands that we talk to who are still like against pop-ups. So my question for you is, if someone doesn't like having pop-ups or they think they're annoying, first of all, how do you feel about that narrative, and what is the solution for that?
Yeah. So, think about that conversion rate, right? So let's just choose 5%, right? So if a brand is doing 100,000 visitors a month, and they're not doing any sort of pop-up, they're missing 60,000 subscribers a year, right? 5,000 at 5% times 12, which I think is 60,000. Yeah. So
you have to be
missing,
right. You went to school for engineering there.
Yeah. So, I would just say like, really think about that, because, what would your revenue growth look like if you added another 60,000 subscribers, right? On top of that, beautiful things happen when you are capturing contact information and tying that to cookies, right? Okay. You can recognize more of your anonymous traffic when they're doing things like abandoning their cart. So you can you'll be able to send more cart recovery emails. You'll actually recover more carts through that, right? So, I think it's a hard thing to understand, but, in short, if you're not doing this, like, that's fine, but at least understand that you're missing a shitload of revenue.
Yeah. I think a solution for that too, recently that I found actually, like talking to your team, to your partnerships team, was even if you don't want to
Shout out Marco.
Yeah, Marco. Yeah, if you don't want to collect or have a pop-up on your homepage, at least have like an exit intent, like the user is already leaving. So it doesn't really hurt to just have that pop-up as they're exiting the site to capture the email, right?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think pop-ups got a really bad rap. Because like the initial wave and like the stuff that comes default in like Shopify themes, like there's no control over it, right? It's hard to design them. You don't really know, like, is it loading for people that are already on my list that have already purchased? Like there's no controls there, but I think like you got to shake that mentality. You can target down to very specific audiences that are coming from paid, that have never ordered before, that are not coming from your UTMs in your email. Like there's so much you can do, or just wait till people are bouncing and they're going to be gone anyways. Right. So I think there's, like I do a daily podcast now, e-commerce marketing school. And I think like one of the things that people miss that's significant is they spend all this time thinking about different, paid ad groups that they're targeting, where those people are in the funnel. Then when it comes to the messaging side, either email or text, they spend all this time on like automated messages that go out, or flows, or triggered, or whatever you want to call them. But they don't understand that like the same opportunity exists on your site, right? There's new visitors that have never been here before. There's repeat visitors that are back that still haven't purchased. And then there's repeat customers that are back, hopefully to make a second purchase, right? So I think just like even approaching your website traffic with that same lens will give you ideas for, oh, like maybe this is the audience where that would make sense for. And I promise you that it works, and it will help you make more money, especially if you're already well entrenched in email or text as a channel and are seeing strong ROI there. Like it's just going to grow.
Yeah. And as far as like pop-up design, do you think like simple designs convert better, or do you think doing super custom? I think we were working with Poopery, I think like sometime last year, and they have this amazing pop-up. I'm not sure if they still have it on site, but it was super customized. It looked really great. So my question is like, does design really matter in terms of like the opt-in rate for your pop-ups?
Yeah. So it's, I definitely think there's like paralysis from brands where it's like, I'd love to do that marketing thing, whether it's a pop-up or, this, but like, I don't really have great creative for that. And I don't feel like paying to do it. And like, okay, that's fine. So just start, because what we've found is like, even if you just have a really simple pop-up that's like in the shape of a mobile phone, right? That maybe has the similar like background color, and the button is similar to what the buttons look like on your site. Like you could do that today, right?
Yeah.
Through Privy or even like whatever, in a matter of minutes. And that will add value to your business. And then like, once you're comfortable with that, then get to the design side to like really make the look and feel what you want. But we do find that like, honestly, the simple stuff works just as good, if not better, because you got to remember these things are already loading on top of your site, and your site's really branded. So you don't want it to look like a clown that stands out. But you also don't need to like add video and GIFs, and like some of that stuff is cute and fun. It's not going to detract, but you definitely don't need it. And again, like the thing that's going to carry the biggest impact on the sign up rate is what you're saying. So the more clearly you're saying that and reinforcing those expectations, like that's what drives the sign up rate.
And for the brands that are collecting emails, do you usually recommend a double opt-in, or is it like case by case?
I think with email, I don't feel like you need that. I think what brands do miss is how to confirm it, right? So I think there's two things that are critical. The moment someone signs up for your pop-up or your form, you need to show what we call a thank you page, which is while they're still on the site within the same like shape of the pop-up, you can design a thank you screen, because like, A, you want to show that customer that like it just worked, right? Like what they did just worked, as opposed to shutting it down. B, you want to match the expectation. So if you did offer a coupon, this is your time to deliver it. Like while they're literally on your site, don't make them leave to go find that coupon. You just worked hard to get that sign up and that visitor. Keep them on your site. So definitely do a thank you page. And then also send an immediate autoresponder email or an after sign up email, whatever you want to call it. Like send it, because it just kind of, without formally doing the double opt-in, it acts as a way to like later on remind that person, oh yeah, like I did sign up for this thing, right? And that way, like it's another opportunity to be in their mind when they're off of your website, A, while you're fresh on their mind. B, if they haven't used the offer and you did offer a coupon, like deliver it also in the autoresponder. But also like when you do send your next triggered email or a broadcast, like at least they're like, oh yeah, I did sign up for this thing, right? So I think double opt-in is important. Certain industries and geographies require that stuff, but I think it's a little bit of an old school thing, but I do really feel strongly that you need that thank you page while they're still on the site and to
Yeah.
send the autoresponder immediately.
100%. Yeah, the customer is already on site. Just give them the coupon so they can redeem it right away instead of going to email, confirming, coming back, waiting to
Totally.
receive the welcome email, and then copying that back to site. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Right. Plus, like if I have to leave and go check my email, like I'm probably done. Like, there's
Yeah.
probably an email from my mom or whatever.
Yeah,
Like also
never
that's
coming
like
back.
exactly. And by the way, I think the same principle. I know you guys do spend a ton of time with text. Like I think the same principle.
Yeah.
Um, but obviously for text, I would never do it without double opt-in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to talk about text in a little bit, but once you get that customer's email, like what do you send? Because I know a lot of people are thinking like, what automated flow should I do? Should I be emailing, or how often should I even like be emailing? What are your thoughts on that?
I think initially it's got to be story driven, right?
Okay.
Like I think um, this is a this is another miss that we see a lot is like what to include in your pre-purchase kind of welcome series. And it should all be story, like why should they buy this thing from your site versus, a knockoff on Amazon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like what's the story behind the quality of the product or the founder? Like tell that story here. So I think like after the immediate autoresponder or even in a section of it, like weave that in, and distinctly think about, okay, this is someone who just signed up for my list. They haven't yet made their first order, right? So pre-purchase, I think there's like an educational series of a handful, all designed to ideally bring that person back to the site to make the first order.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think there's, the post-purchase series, which is, that someone just made an order. You're trying to build anticipation, answer commonly asked questions ahead of when the product, is shipped or fulfilled. And then again, after, once it is delivered, like, hey, it's me, the founder, following up. Like, did you have any questions about that product? How's it going, et cetera? So I think pre-purchase and post-purchase are important. Cart abandonment is probably the most critical.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I think the broadcast stuff still works really well. I know people like poo-poo it and talk all automated stuff, but I mean, sounds like you have experience with sending broadcasts and they do work really well, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think I'd focus all of my attention on getting a really strong kind of autoresponder pre-purchase series, abandoned cart flow, and then order follow-up series in place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it goes back to what you said earlier, right? It's what you say. You don't have to make it look, you don't have to have the most beautiful template. It's about convincing that customer that you have the right product for them, for the problem that they're trying to solve with your product.
Totally agree with that.
Yeah. So recently I was talking to your partnerships team, and they told me you guys got into text marketing. Why did you make that decision? And are you guys live, and what's going on with that?
Yeah. We have over 500 merchants using Privy Text now, which is pretty cool. For Privy Email, we've got, over 6,000 merchants using that product.
Mm-hmm.
I think like for us, it's just kind of along the lines of how we expanded away from just our conversion product into email,
Okay.
we're seeing the same trend, right? Where it's like, hey, if you're a super small business, you care a lot about like ease of use. You care a lot about simplicity. You really care a lot about support. And those are things that Privy since day one, like we've done very well. I remember like I actually used to do all the live chat support here, and that's something that has really stuck with me. That's a big part of our brand.
Mm-hmm.
And so, getting into email, it was kind of answering a lot of our existing customer questions around, hey, like can I just do more of what I need to do here? And so the decision to get into text was the exact same, really. It was, hey, like, I have my abandoned cart emails set up in Privy. I see you integrate with other text message providers, but I'd like to be able to control my email and my text from one spot, so I understand what's going out when. Like, can you just do something here? And for a while, it was the same thing with email. I'll never forget. Internally, we were like, no, we're not going to build email. We're not.
Yeah.
And then it was the same thing with text, right? And even like the PostScript guys, like I know them very well, right?
Yeah.
Or even Klaviyo, like I think we have probably 10 or 15,000 shared customers with Klaviyo around email. But I think as we really understood who our target was, which is really small, solopreneurs, like
Yep.
we just felt like there was an opportunity to simplify for them. And that's why we rolled out Privy Text. So it's just like simple after sign up text and abandoned cart series text that you can kind of see in conjunction with your email. We don't do any like broadcast text or anything like that.
Makes sense. And I think for small businesses too, it really helps them keep in contact directly with their customers. And I think for the most part, I've seen small businesses implement marketing very well because it's very personal. I actually tweeted literally yesterday, I've been purchasing some products on Etsy, and I was just so amazed about like the extra touches. It felt like you're purchasing directly from a person versus like all these big brands. They send you like 5 emails a day saying the same thing. There's like no personal touch at all.
Totally. Yeah. And I think for the small folks, like it doesn't mean they won't grow into the bigger ones, but I think the more that they use that to their advantage, the more that the emails or the texts are actually coming from the founders, right?
Yeah.
Actually replying to, the replies from the customers or answering tickets themselves. Like, I think that stuff goes a long way.
Yeah. One brand that does that really well recently, purchased a pair of shoes from Ben Jabbawy. Not sure if you know them, but I usually like don't open like those emails and like the promotion tabs, but sometimes like the founder would email and I'll actually read it, and she'll like give updates about like products that they're working on, what's coming next. And I thought it was pretty cool. It's like simple email, no design. It's just like a friend emailing a friend, and actually like worked really well.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we, even in our own marketing, like that's a big approach that we take from our marketing team. Like the emails go out, a bunch of them still come from me, or certainly like actual members of our marketing team. And I don't think there's any creative in them. I think they're all just like a couple sentences, very personal. It works well.
Yeah, getting more into the personal stuff. You seem like a pretty happy guy. You mentioned you mentioned you had a routine. Like, can you talk about your routine? Like, what do you do when you wake up?
Yeah, for sure. So at 6:45, my 3-year-old daughter opens my door, comes over to my side of the bed every day. It's my favorite part of the day. She'll come wake me up. And she calls me Baba. She goes, Baba, it's time to go down. So we go downstairs. We watch a little bit of TV, some cartoons together. And then, while she's watching, I'll do a handful of push-ups, sit-ups, things like that, stretch out. I'll put on another episode and I'll go for a run and then come back, have breakfast with my family. And then I'm off for the day.
Yeah. And like, when do you stop? Do you like go on for like 10 hours, 8 hours, 5 hours?
I find like there's just a window of time in the day where I can be productive. The morning is where I can actually, like, if I need to do some writing or create a presentation or something, like there's my window. And then if I have to have meetings with my management team or anyone in the company, like I'll do those, early afternoon. There's some days where I'm like wired and can keep going, but typically like I just become unproductive after 4:30. So I try to like really avoid the like grind it out. And I get
Yeah.
a ton of sleep, and I find that that has helped me go long. You know, like I
Mhm.
said, I've been doing this almost 10 years now. So I think like if I had been going, 14-hour days for the first 3 years, like I wouldn't have been able to last.
Mm.
Um, and, on the weekends, like I do try to just like unplug. I find
Mm.
that I'm most excited to come back Monday morning when that's the case. And also like, my family keeps me sane. It's this support
Yeah.
system that I need to push through.
Oh yeah. Like sleep is such an important part of like entrepreneurship. And I try to get 8 hours every night because I've
Good.
noticed too, like when I start working, like when I have the right amount of sleep, I'm able to like make decisions a lot faster versus like, let's say I get 5 hours, I'll just like think about the same things or just jump around from task to task. And yeah, like that afternoon time, like it's always like hard for me too. Cause like, you feel like you have some other stuff that, oops, you feel like you still have like other stuff to do, but you still like so unproductive that might as well like try again the next day, basically.
I
Right.
agree. I agree. Like, and founders were built off of this like insane motivation. And for me, there's nothing more frustrating than if I'm being unproductive and trying to
Mhm.
force myself to be productive. So I find it's okay to push some stuff. I mean, there's times where you can't and you got to just push through it. But most of the time, it can wait till tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, Ben, thank you so much for being on this episode. Now, where can people find you, and are there things that you're launching soon? I think you mentioned you're launching something. Uh,
Yeah. Just go to privy.com or subscribe to the ecommerce marketing show, which is our daily and weekly podcast on iTunes, Spotify, etc.
Welcome to the extra portion of this podcast. So we're going to continue on, and I have two simple questions for Ben. The first one: how do you build a profitable business in 2020?
So that's a great question. Hot topic. I think first, I'd focus on thinking about the buying experience that you're providing, right? I
Mm.
think this is a big missed opportunity. I think each step along that buying experience needs to create very clear expectations for your customer. That starts by telling the story about why your product is different, down through like as they actually make the order, when is your order going to come, how do they track the order, how do
Yep.
they return it if they don't like it, or exchange it if it's the wrong size. Like I think that entire buying process just needs to be really well thought through and match just consumer expectations in 2020, which are driven by things like Amazon and incredibly high, right? So
Yeah.
if I'm going to buy from you, I'd focus on absolutely nailing that experience, weaving my story throughout that entire experience, and over delivering on expectations and customer support.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think when like Shopify got pretty popular, let's say around like 2015 or so, a lot of people were doing buying products from China and then shipping them directly to the customer, right? And I think one of the big issues was like people would buy a product and they wouldn't receive the product for like 2 weeks, and then they wouldn't like even send like an email to the customers and let them know that the product is going to take that long. Or even today, like a lot of questions that brands get on their customer service team is like, did my order go through? And going back to text is such a great channel to leverage for that, like order confirmation. Like that customer is already on their cell phone, just shoot them a quick text, let them know the order has been processed. Otherwise, they're going to reach out to you. Where did my order go through? Is it going to get, when is it going to get delivered? And then, yeah, just a bunch of questions.
Totally. It's our natural kind of expectations as buyers. We're all buyers ourselves. And I think the more that you can anticipate what those are and meet
Yeah.
them ahead of that to set expectations properly, I think people really appreciate that. And by the way, if you create an awesome buying experience at every step, that's ultimately what's going to drive confidence for me to come back and buy the next product that you launch or a second time, et cetera, which really is how you build a profitable business.
Now, second question, Privy has over 400,000 stores in over 180 countries, and you guys have driven over $4 billion in sales for your customers. If you were to start over, if you were to start over today, what business would you build? Would you do like another Privy, or what would you do?
It's a really bold question. I love it. Privy's definitely my life's work. So I'm going to be working on this. However, I did have a business idea the other day with everything happening related to COVID. I think so many of us are at home and, people are starting to go out, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're a coffee drinker, you're mostly making your coffee at home. And I don't know about you, but I'm so sick of doing that. So I was actually thinking about, man, like how come no one's just like repurposing an ice cream truck and just like has iced coffee, hot coffee, high-end coffee, whatever, just like driving down residential streets in the burbs selling coffee. So that's my simple mindless business of the day.
Yeah, that would probably make a pretty good episode on Shark Tank for sure.
You should pitch it to your guy.
Cool. Well, Ben, thank you so much for this awesome episode. We've learned a lot about email and text messaging. And I hope we can have you soon, maybe in a few months, and see where the new product launch is going. I think thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. All right. Love being with you. This is cool.
I really hope you enjoyed this episode with Ben. If you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, make sure to follow this podcast and leave us a 5-star review. If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a like, drop a comment below, and subscribe to this channel for more content like this. Other than that, thanks again for listening to another episode of the Personal Mastery Podcast.